The following half-hour show is a paid political program and is not endorsed by this station, management, or staff.
The following program is brought to you by Excalibur Insurance Management Services.
We welcome back to today's show, newly minted now, Republican United States Congressman from the 8th Congressional District, Rob Bresnahan, who you'll remember defeated six-term incumbent Democratic Congressman Matt Cartwright in what was considered one of the biggest upsets in the country. Rob was born in Kingston. He's from the area. As a young boy, Rob grew up in the family construction business, who were electrical contractors, by the way, and that company was a union shop affiliated with the IBEW. Rob went on to graduate from the nationally academically renowned Wyoming Seminary High School. He was an athlete there and a hockey player. Wyoming Sem, again, is a private prep school. Rob went after that on to earn his bachelor's degree from the University of Scranton. And while in school, at the age of 19, the young age of 19, I should say, he became the chief financial officer of his grandfather's business we refer to, Kaharcha Construction. Rob is a fifth-generation Northeastern Pennsylvanian, an accomplished businessman, college athlete, former chairman, a joint apprentice training committee member, as well as a trustee for the Health, Wellness, and Annuity for the IBEW 163 local union shop. Rob is also a community philanthropist. It was with that background and with those motivating factors that caused Rob to become a candidate for United States Congress. And of course, today he is our congressman. On tap for today's show, we will discuss the hysterical and unhinged response by Democratic leaders in the House and the Senate in response to the damning evidence of waste, abuse, and corruption that Elon Musk has discovered at the State Department and at USAID. The pathetic Democratic response has fallen so flat with Americans that their continued viability as a major party is being called into question. It should be an interesting show.
This is the Volpe Report, a weekly news and political interview show examining the latest local, state, and national issues with Chuck Volpe. Insightful, informative, controversial. The area's premier political talk show, the Volpe Report.
Rob, welcome to the Volpe Report. Let me be the first to say officially on the Volpe Report, United States Congressman Rob Bresnahan. Welcome to the Volpe Report.
Chuck, thanks for having me. The last time we spoke, it was during the orientation process. So we're down here. We're in the trenches.
That was Congressman-elect, exactly right. Well, before we get into all the great, juicy stuff that we have in front of us to talk about today, my first question, which I thought about all the way back to when you got elected on November 5th, was going to be, you're there, give or take, 40, 50 days, somewhere in that range. Talk about walking into a maelstrom. You have. So what's your first month and a half in Congress like?
Well, the first couple of weeks, we're making sure our offices were tooled up, staffed up, ready to go. And I know that's what we spoke about during the orientation process was on day one, we needed to hit the ground running. And that's exactly what we did. Officially, everyone in DC is staffed up. The district offices will be open, fully operational within the next few weeks. Then came the steering committees to figure out what committees we want to serve on. And, with my background being a highway contractor, we found our way to transportation infrastructure, highway transit, aviation, and as well as small business and agriculture. So all very fitting to Northeastern Pennsylvania, very relevant to my background, but it's been a whirlwind. What's so interesting and fascinating about this job is no 20 minutes of the day are the same. But what's the most rewarding part of my day is when we can help out the people of Northeastern Pennsylvania. When we have a constituent call and they're having issues with Social Security and they can't figure out a form, or we have a veteran that can't get into the Veterans Affairs because of a misplaced piece of paper, we're able to solve those issues. And that's something that our office is at the paramount of concern for, is responding to the people of Northeastern Pennsylvania. So to answer the question, it's incredibly exciting. There's obviously a lot of things unfolding down here in Washington, D.C. But at the end of the day, it's extremely meaningful work, and I am just so grateful that the people of northeastern Pennsylvania were willing to give me a chance.
Well, we've talked about this already. I have to confess that you must be doing a hell of a job in a little under 2 months, because the Democratic super PACs are actually running negative commercials. You're not there 100 days, and they're already...
I wasn't here 20 days. They were running ads against me on day 20.
Well, there is two things. Obviously, a fear factor of you, and it's amazing with what you are uncovering in your colleagues in the United States Congress, in the United States Senate with majorities, what the Donald Trump administration with Elon Musk at Doge is uncovering about the Democrats, that they would be the last people that should be attacking anybody without looking within to themselves first are the Democrats. And I'm going to talk a little bit specifically about the two latest buzzwords for them: shadow government. I said two, there's really three. Shadow government, oligarchy, constitutional crisis. They actually did a montage, Rob, I watched the other day, where they spliced together ABC, NBC, and CBS with the various talking heads, and they just splice them so that we have a constitutional crisis. Oh my God, it's a constitutional crisis. Oh my heavens, we have a constitutional crisis. It's like they get the same talking points like they're part of the Democratic Party's press corps, and they come up with this stuff. So your comment on that first before we get into the meat of it.
Well, first off, they're going to need a bigger harpoon gun to try to shoot this fish. And we saw on the ads that they're currently running against me. And if you would notice, it's about RFK confirmation. And if you would realize, the House has absolutely nothing to do with the confirmation of a Senate appointment. And secondly, in the ad, they're referencing sales tax and a bunch of other, nonsense that totally isn't relevant. And I'll tell you, our phones in our office have been ringing off the hook with, the fear mongering that has been sent, that we're going to cut Medicaid, we're going to cut Social Security. I mean, I personally took phone calls today with senior citizens, rightfully so, being frantic that they are worried about the basic necessities. And I reassured a woman today who had a husband who was very ill, who depends on Social Security. And I said, ma'am, I promise you, this is not something that we are going to cut. This office is going to fight to make sure you have the health benefits for you and your husband. But yes, every day it seems like something else is coming out along the lines. I can only imagine that the mainstream media is totally losing credibility. You look at the ABC, the CBS, yeah, it's nonsense. They don't even know, which way they're coming from. And what's scary is, if they say things enough, they believe that the viewers are going to start to believe it. And that's what our office has been doing is, a lot of education, at least informing people where we stand on the issues and what we're going to be fighting for. But you just, they say, if they say something so many times, they're going to manifest it into a reality, and that just isn't the case.
Exactly. No comes to mind actually for me, Rob. And I've used this with my audience in years past for different issues, but it's very appropriate now. And that's the story of the little boy who cried wolf. It seems to me, when you trot out an existential threat to our democracy, he incited a riot, he will take over and become a dictator, he's a threat to democracy, his presence on the ballot. That's a pretty big bullet, and it failed. He got stronger. Donald Trump, I'm talking about, and the Republicans. Then you go down the road. Once you pull out, Rob, the Adolf Hitler fascist card, there's nowhere else you can go up from that. That's a hydrogen bomb. It's the worst you can do.
Rock bottom.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And that failed. Even top Democratic strategists, James Carville, David Axelrod. James Carville has called them stupid. Axelrod has said, what are you doing? You have to talk to the people about a message for them instead of screaming about Trump. That doesn't work. It was proven not to work. Quote, it's not the hill you want to die on. And now, last but not least, they've taken to the streets, inciting insurrection themselves, screaming, calling people to come out, declarations of war, take over our government. They're raiding federal buildings. Wait, we have to shut down Washington. 10 times worse than anything Donald Trump said on January 6th. And I don't see any of them going to jail yet. So your comment generally about everything I've just said, the whole thing.
77 million people voted for Donald Trump. The House of Representatives received the highest level of votes ever. And that's because people were ready for a change. People are frustrated with what we were being told. And Donald Trump brought a totally different perspective. And here's what's remarkable. Everything Donald Trump said he was going to do on the campaign trail is exactly what he's doing. I mean, and exposing the waste, exposing the fraud and the abuse. And, we had even, we ran on that and, on being fiscally responsible. And, you would be surprised if Congressman Rob Bresnahan reached out to an office and wanted, requests on how our federal tax dollars were being allocated. It just would never come about. And, Congress, as frustrating as it could be sometimes, we have a lot of different factions within side of the party. Right now, we're working really hard, a member-driven process on budget reconciliation. Actually, right now, as we're doing this, the budget committee is meeting on the various different conversations that need to take place. We don't even know what they're going to look like. So a lot of this fear mongering that we've been hearing coming through the pipeline is all totally speculative. But I think when I walk around the cities of our district, whether it's the city of Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, I see our own Americans struggling to make ends meet. I see people on benches. I see our homeless veterans. And these are the people that fought for our country. And they can't afford to put food on their table or the basic hierarchy of needs, shelter, water. And we have hundreds of billions of dollars being sent all around the planet. And you know what? Donald Trump ran on putting America first, and that's exactly what he's doing.
Exactly. We're getting close to our first break, so I want to save this for the second part of the break. But I have to do one of the comparisons before I get into specifics, as I said, is the fact they're talking about there's this, quote, shadow government being run by a billionaire oligarch, Elon Musk, attempting to take over the government of the United States. And you know what? This is what struck me about that, Rob. First of all, if you want to talk about a shadow government and an oligarch trying to destroy the United States, George Soros' name comes to mind. Here's a guy that never stood for an election, was never put out there or appointed by a president in any capacity, yet he's funding hundreds of millions of dollars to progressive district attorneys. Crime is up. Our most beautiful cities have been destroyed thanks to George Soros, who manages to work in the shadows through dark money, unelected. And then on top of him, what is bad, the Democrats have placed a structural They talk about structural racism. Well, there is structural deep state government run by bureaucrats, unelected, making decisions, destroying people's lives, destroying small businesses from starting up, things you're fighting for every day. Here's again the hypocrisy. They're trying to say that about Elon Musk. My recollection is Elon Musk stood on a stage right next to Donald Trump at about 200 rallies across every city, state, borough, and township in this great country. They told the American people exactly what they were going to do, that they were going to clean up the corruption, they were going to clean up the wasteful spending, they were going to make government more efficient, they were going to root it out, they were going to go after the deep state that's killing normal Americans. And you know what the American people did say? Absolutely, and gave them an overwhelming mandate. And now they're trying to claim that this is somehow a constitutional crisis because he's not elected. Give me your comment how the Democrats are out screaming, cursing, like just whatever your thoughts are.
Every American should be cursing and screaming and frustrated when they're paying their income taxes and they're seeing the United States government literally light their hard-earned dollars on fire, regardless of where it's going through the USAID programs or, you could say $25 billion, the Sesame Street in Afghanistan. I mean, every American should be absolutely just irate about the irresponsibility of the federal government. And it's a big reason why I decided to run. When our own people are struggling to make ends meet, we have to take care of our own people before we can take care of the entirety of the world. Now, I think we need to look comprehensively at what the ripple effects will be. And how, whether it's the rice grower in California and what kind of implications these different decisions will make. And ultimately, that's going to be Congress's responsibility. We have the power of the purse, and it's going to be what we're going to have to really make challenging votes on for what's best for the United States of America moving forward.
That's a great answer. On that, we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back after this message, Rob.
There are more places you can watch the Volpe Report, your premier political talk show. Tune in to Fox 56 every Sunday morning at 10:30 as we bring prominent national and state officials right into your living room. Or watch on YouTube at the Volpe Report, where you get full access to all of our episodes, wherever you are. Our guests are the newsmakers, the decision makers, the people who shape the policies that affect us all. We dive deep into what matters most to Pennsylvanians with in-depth interviews that give you the full picture. We're dedicated to providing you with unfiltered, thought-provoking conversations. Whether it's local policy, national politics, or everything in between, we're right here to break it down and keep you informed. So wherever you want to watch, the Volpe Report is always here for you, delivering everything you need to know in today's political landscape.
Welcome back, Congressman. As promised in this second segment, I have to go to the glasses on this for the fine print. I want to kind of go through the highlights. No, not all of it on accounting. This comes from Congressman Chairman Brian Mast, Republican Chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Here are some of the, and by the president, where's the proof? Where's the receipts? Well, there's screenshots of checks and all there. The proof is here. So let me go through this for our constituents and your constituents in Northeast and Central Pennsylvania. $15 million for condoms that ended up in the Taliban's hands. $15 million. $446,000 to promote the expansion of atheism in Nepal. That was through the State Department. $1 million to boost French-speaking LGBTQ groups in West and Central Africa, also through the State Department. $14 million in cash vouchers for migrants at the southern border. $14 million. $20,600 for a drag show in Ecuador. $47,020 for transgender opera in Colombia. $32,000 for LGBT-centered comic book in Peru. $55,000 for a climate change presentation warning about the impact of climate change in Argentina. $3,350,000, quote, for being and how to be LGBTQ in the Caribbean. This is all from USAID, by the way. $80,000 for LGBT Community Center in Bratislava, Slovakia. $3.2 million, Rob, to help Tunisian migrants readjust to life in Tunisia. And lastly, $2.5 million to build electric vehicles charging stations in Vietnam's largest cities. Our tax dollars. Rob.
Based off of those numbers, I can have every bridge in our district rebuilt twice, considering 25% of our bridges in our district are structurally deficient. And it seems to be every time we try to make a play to actually invest into the infrastructure, that whether you're making $7,000 a year or $7 million a year, you're going to drive over. But yet our district still continues to have to take alternative routes, and we're going to be using a canoe soon to get across the Susquehanna River.
Yeah. Rob, you know what's most offensive to me? We have starving, homeless vets, United States citizen, American veterans of the armed services that protected us, the ones we're supposed to say thank you for your service to, sleeping in homeless encampments in below zero temperatures. And our tax dollars that they fought for to protect are going to the Democratic, woke, progressive crap that I just read out. And they're screaming because they're saying this is a government takeover by Elon Musk, the oligarch, because he's outing them. And the American people, how many people, normal, responsible people, would consider voting for a Democrat that have heard this stuff that I've just talked to you about?
I think every American had this idea that the American government, the United States government, was just incredibly irresponsible with tax dollars. Right. And now when you see it in an Excel spreadsheet, line by line, you now add a lot of color to how egregious these expenditures are. And then you look at the national debt at $36.5 trillion, and the interest payment alone on that debt is close to $1 trillion, which is more than our national defense budget. You kind of start to weigh the priority. What do we need and what do we want? And certainly I was trying to do some math there on the back of my hand. Needless to say, I'm not sure these are necessity expenditures on behalf of the American people.
Of course not. It's necessity expenditures to promote the takeover of America for a very progressive ideology that the Democrats have wrapped their arms and lips around. And the reckoning came for them when they got washed out of power. And yet, Rob, they're doubling down. There's one more statistic for you. I saved the best for last. I just saw it on Hannity last night. Apparently at the Roosevelt, one of the most swank, you should see, they put the pictures up of this whole ornate golden inlaid on the ceiling leaf and all beautiful stuff. They were paid by the U.S. government $59 million for illegal immigrants to be housed in New York Sanctuary City under the Biden administration. $59 million. We have families, working families that can't make ends meet, living paycheck to paycheck, and their tax dollars are going there.
Which ironically, the median household income of our district is $60,000 a year. So there's certainly a few extra zeros missing. And I know that if we were to get our share of those dollars, we'd have the Nanticoke Bridge would be rebuilt. And that's exactly what we're fighting for every single day in Congress on our Transportation Infrastructure Committee, is to stop those dollars from being sent all around the planet and bring it back to northeastern Pennsylvania, where they deserve to be spent for the people that pay their taxes and do the right thing.
No doubt. Now let's talk about, part of this show is for you to talk to the people in your district and your constituency that we cover in this media market. What are your priorities for them, and what are the things you're getting done for them in terms of monies you're going to bring back to the district?
Well, actually, the first thing, we are about to introduce our first piece of legislation, and it's going to be about consolidating the amount of paperwork that you need to be able to file for survivorship benefits within the VA hospital itself, and talking about our veterans. And right now, we're actually even we wanted to do a simulation about, hey, if we had a survivorship with a veteran that passed, what do they need to do for the surviving spouse? What do they need to do to be able to attain those benefits? And now I'm a member of Congress and I couldn't even get a straight answer. So we'll be introducing legislation to simplify those processes and to establish a way that we can consolidate all of that information so our veterans who fought for our country and the spouses and the families get the benefits that they deserve. So that actually is going in the hopper today. We're issuing a press release, hopefully within the next 2 hours, and we got bipartisan support. This is the people that supported us and fought for our freedoms every day. Honestly, I mean, every single day, nothing brings me more joy than when I get to see someone from the district in Washington, D.C., and whether it's our federal prison guards who we had a chance to tour the Canaan Federal Penitentiary and seeing what they're dealing with, and drones dropping off fentanyl over their walls and contraband coming in. We got to meet with the FOP and the firefighters. And you know what? It's just really rewarding that we get to meet with people where we get to make a difference. We get to be a listening ear, and then we get to really put the pen to paper and make a decision. And the most of these concerns and problems are really administrative. It's the bureaucracy at work that makes everything that much more frustrating, that much longer to bring to a resolution. So to the viewers at home, if you are having an issue with a bureaucracy, reach out to us. If you're having an issue trying to get your mail because the post office decided to put you into a different delivery zone, reach out to our office. If you're a veteran trying to navigate the VA program, reach out to us. Our office, we have dedicated caseworkers specifically revolving around our veterans. Our district offices will be opening up this week. Hopefully by next week, our phones are installed. We have to get final approval from the House admin on our build out for the security processes. But come and talk to us. That's what we're here for. We're here to represent northeastern Pennsylvania. And at the end of the day, when we start and end our days, we talk about what do we do for northeastern Pennsylvania today. what decisions did we make? And every decision needs to be in what's the best interest for our home, Northeastern Pennsylvania. So obviously, really appreciate you considering me to jump onto this segment. I love even our sidebar conversations and the passion. At the end of the day, we both do this because we're fighting for the country. We're fighting for the best outcome. And honestly, it is just the ultimate privilege of a lifetime to fight for what I've called home for 5 generations.
Well, as I said earlier, back as congressman-elect at that time, you slew Goliath, a 6 going on 7-term congressman, House Appropriations Chairman. And that's because of your message and its freshness. It's because you are a standard bearer of a party now that's in a uniquely historical position, because your opponent, your main opposition, the Democrats at the national level, are self-destructing, Rob, every single day. They're singing.
They're panicking.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, and here's the real question is why? Why would they be afraid of saving hundreds of billions of dollars in wasteful spending? There was, I think, the Office of Budget came up with a number that between like 2008 and recently 2024, that there was 2.3 trillion of wasted spending, of monies that never even got to where it was supposed to be going, or was fraudulently sent to a fraudulent company. We look at our $36 trillion deficit. That's 2.3 million in the last generation of wasteful money. I don't know how they can oppose that stuff, but they are. But literally, it's almost like you just have to keep giving it, keep going, keep fighting. One pundit said, Donald Trump and the Republicans and you are on the side of 80% of Americans on the issues they're for, and the only 20% that are on the more fringe issues, that seems to be the side the Democrats choose. The Republicans are on the 80%. The Democrats are on the 20%. I was never that good in math, but I can do that math.
Well, think about just like unneeded subscriptions you have on your phone. I mean, that's what we're going through here. And, we have these conversations at our kitchen tables, inside of our houses and our families. We're not going to pay for things we can't afford when we're already struggling as a country and we're hemorrhaging cash hand over fist and we can barely pay our own bills.
Right. Exactly right. Well, Rob, I know your time is, you've got to go. And this brings to an end our segment. Real quick, did I understand you had the gavel for a while today?
I did. We were presiding over the special order hours, and we were talking about the necessity to reinvest into our power distribution systems on top of the generation of electricity, the transmission, as well as the distribution. So the hour we were there for actually an hour and a half, and always nice to be up in the rostrum there and have the gavel.
Well, so Speaker Mike Johnson handed you the gavel for a while, did he?
He surrendered it just for a little bit, but then he came back in and he yanked it back. But it just, all power. I mean, when you're sitting up there, I was just looking around, and right across from the rostrum is Moses, and he's looking right back down at you, and people up in the gallery listening to the special orders, and it's just you have to go up there and pinch yourself, and you have to say, oh my gosh, this is my life right now.
Well, again, Godspeed in the work you do for all of us. You're doing great work, and keep it up, Rob. We'll have you back later in the spring.
Thank you, Chuck.